All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Catalyst Conversations. Today we've got with us Jon Maimaron from Hub International. They are big players in the insurance industry. So, Jon, welcome. And why don't we start off by just asking you to kind of tell us how you got here, maybe a little bit about your personal life and where you came from, and then also how you got into insurance.
Sure.
So take it away.
All right. Thanks, Slav, for having me. Usually I'm used to saying us, but as Hub International. So I work for Hub. We're a leading brokerage, top 5 global brokerage across the nation. I don't want to lead in with the size, and that's not our strong suit. It's not about size. It's about capabilities. I started off in the Wilmington area, Wilmington, Massachusetts, the Boston area, 10 minutes outside of Boston. Hub International's headquarters is in Chicago, but their largest office in the Northeast is actually in Wilmington, Mass., where I started my career. It was an interesting start for sure. I would say it's not the norm on how I got into insurance, and I think a lot of insurance people are that way. You don't grow up as kids going, I'm going to be an insurance professional. It's not something that's easily talked about or understood, to be honest. It's a financial sector type of profession, financial sector, but it's more risk transfer and less money and investment. So when I was in high school, my mother worked at Hub New England, which was in Wilmington, and I would ride my bike there in the summer and that sort of stuff, and stop in to see her when we had our days off, and we were just teenagers riding our bicycles around the town. So I noticed that my mother's office had different levels of the job, and I always asked her, what is that person in the Mercedes? What do they do for a living? And she said, well, they're a commercial insurance producer. Producer, that sounds fun. So knowing that, I then went to college, and I had a little bit of a bridge to get into college, but I didn't focus too much on my homework growing up, and it led me to a 1.9 GPA, and by the time I realized that I couldn't get into any colleges, it was too late. So I ended up going to Middlesex Community College in Lowell and joining their bridge program, which was you go to Middlesex for a year, you do well, and then you can bridge over to UMass Lowell. So I did that, had a very successful year at Middlesex. I actually was on an Abigail Adams scholarship for my MCAS scores. So I had the knowledge. I just always rather play than do the work when I was in high school. I would do everything but homework. So that was always a challenge for me.
Let me ask you real quick.
Sure.
First of all, Adamses are, of course, the pride of Massachusetts, one of our great claims to fame. But what do you think clicked between you not doing well at school and you doing well at school? Because obviously, like, the potential was always there, but here you were 1.9 GPA, and then you go to the community college, outperform, and finish up your college career in stellar fashion. So what was it that changed in your mind to make you flip that switch to success?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I always looked at it as like homework was made for practice to learn the material. When I would take, and I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but like when I would take tests, I would get a 90 or above. So I understood the material. I didn't understand why I had to redundantly practice that material. And that was the difference, honestly, from high school to college. In high school, they weight 40% of your grade on homework because they don't want the people that struggle with the education to get discounted for their effort. So in high school, it's more focused on effort than actual intellectual ability. So that was a big difference for me, is that I always looked at homework as practice to do better. And to me, I already understood the material, so it was redundant.
Okay.
I never really understood how important, homework was. Yeah, I got a report card, and yet, of course, like, my grades suffered because of homework, but I always challenged that. I always challenged that concept. So
Now,
going to college was just a different...
So you're saying in college there was less homework, and so that allowed you to
They didn't
excel?
even grade homework. It was
Okay.
people that go to, there's no such thing as grading homework in college.
Sure.
It's how you perform on the test.
Yeah, which is obviously a test of how well you know the material and can understand it. Okay, all right, so you're in community college. You go to UMass Lowell, and then what?
So first year at UMass Lowell, I do well. I think I was like a 3.5.
Yeah, that's good.
Right, average, but like paid attention in classes, missed a few, did the best you can, and then of that year, my brother passes away of an overdose. So it's panic at home, and UMass Lowell, from where I lived in Wilmington, was only 20 minutes away. So at that time, I had an apartment there. I transitioned back home to take care of my mother and
try to get a handle on some of the chaos.
Help my family, get a handle on the chaos. And so my mother was on leave of short-term disability at the time due to the trauma. You can imagine. It's her kid, her first son. So multiple reasons of the reason I had to then move back home.
Yeah.
So moved back home, enrolled in the day program again for the next year. A summer internship comes up at Hub, and that was just coincidentally the same time my mother was going to go back to work. So she was like, there's a summer internship, you're in college, like take this opportunity to learn the business and help me at the same time by being a presence at my office. So I said, okay. So I take the summer internship, literally just, paperwork, scanning certain things, getting information into the system, learning the processes of how an insurance agent handles a policy. Very mundane work, but it was fun. It was a good job, 8 to 5 for the summer. Like, okay, we're getting ready to go back to college. So when that comes, a job gets posted, and at the time, I was working nights at a pizza restaurant and making pizza. So I was a pizza maker at the time. So I would go day school, and then I would drive to Wilmington, go to the pizza shop. I would do that Monday through Friday at night. Day school and then night for the work. So when that job came up, I went, I can make, $6 more an hour, go during the day to work, and then flip-flop school, have that be 6 to 9 Monday through Friday, take the same workload, take the same classes, but the difference is you're going to sacrifice that social life.
Yeah.
To me, there was no social life. It's time to be an adult. I didn't have the backboard that a lot of kids nowadays have, right? They have that security blanket at home, so it's just spread your wings, be the best you can be. Like, that was not an opportunity for me, to be completely blunt.
Well, yeah.
So I had to make that decision.
Yeah, and not only is there maybe more of a backboard, but there's also the expectation. There's almost like like castigating a work ethic, which is like not good. A lot of kids are saying like hard work isn't necessarily a thing to aspire to.
Right.
So definitely different times we're living in.
For sure. And the millennial group, no, it was all about, what's your title, how much money do you make? That was that was where I came from, right? So knowing that, I always had work first, education second, but I knew that in order to catapult jobs from a low-end career to a high-end career, that the education was going to be important.
For sure.
I learned that early on. So again, I started to do personal lines insurance in 2009. I flipped to day school. I flipped to night school. I would work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then go to UMass Lowell, 6 to 9, Monday through Thursday, Friday nights off. I did that for 3 years in personal lines. Then I went to USI because I wanted to get out of my mother's shadow, really, to be honest. I went to USI, which is another large insurance brokerage, and I did a year there, came back to Hub in 2013 as a account manager in commercial lines this time. So now I just finished up my degree. I did 4 years of what I just told you, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 6 to 9, UMass Lowell, graduated, got my degree, went back to Hub in 2013 as a account manager. And in that process of those last 4 years of doing education and learning insurance at the same time, I became very specialized in what I was doing, because this is what's great about it, right? And this is what's a point that I think a lot of people miss. When you go to school and you don't have your career lined up at the same time, you do 4 years of school, you're not applying the concepts that you learn in everyday life at the same time. Right. So a lot of those concepts that you're learning from the school, you're not able to apply them.
They're just theory.
They're just theory. And then you can use them after you get out if you remember everything, right? So while I was going through school and working full-time, I was applying all the concepts. Leadership, school, I'm like, oh, how does my boss treat me, right? We just learned about, emergent leadership or assigned leadership. What is my boss in this structure of leadership?
Yeah.
So I honestly, I'm grateful that I did it unorthodox.
Right.
Because it was unbelievable of what I could apply from the knowledge that I was learning from school to a real workforce.
I think that's such a huge insight, and certainly if I would recommend that to anybody who's going into college, try to as early as possible, try to carve out some form of career path. And there's internships and all the rest of it, but I wish I had started working on my career freshman year, because I did some work study and whatever else. But if you could find an industry that you like, and at least during the summers or something to provide yourself a path for success when you're graduated. Because I feel like so many, probably there are a lot of kids who come out with this degree, whatever it's in, and they have this blank stare on their face and say, what now?
Absolutely.
I certainly was probably 75% that way. So I think that's a huge insight.
Yeah, it's actually very intriguing actually. Now that I think through it, because it's when you're in college learning all these concepts and you have nothing in the real world to apply it to, it's, I wouldn't say in one ear out the other, but you just don't
something like that.
You can't understand actually what it means and how to utilize it. So I think I had the advantage there. And then so I started my career in 2013 with Hub. Going back to Hub for my first full-time gig. I'm finally graduated. This is my career, right? That's where I'm at this point.
Yes.
And so they hired me as an account manager. When I get hired as an account manager, my focus and aspirations was always about sales. That's all I ever wanted to do was be a salesperson. So knowing that, having that background, having that passion, when they assigned me as an account manager, what I did is I took a look at the book of business that I was assigned to manage, and I said, okay, what lines of coverage does each one of these accounts not have? Because they allowed you to get paid to cross-sell to round out accounts. So my focus every day, yes, I would answer the calls and I would do the account management, probably not as well as they wanted me to. But I did do the job. Mostly, though, my passion was to round out these accounts and get paid for it. So I started to, with this book, I started to round out all of these accounts. With that came a threshold that what ended up happening is my first year as an account manager, they had 5 salespeople doing small business. I had larger sales numbers than 4 of them. So my sales numbers as an account manager beat their 4 of their full-time sales reps. So when that happened, I went, put me in the game, coach. Right? That's how I took it.
Right.
So at that same time, after a year with doing $80,000 of new business revenue, as an account manager, I went into the new CSO's office and I said, hey, I really should be in sales. Here's what I did. He said, look, I just sat in the seat yesterday. I just got my job. I don't even know what to do yet. And I will get back to you, though. So I said, okay, fine. You'll get back to me. When? Come back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks on the day. Knock, knock, knock. Sean, where are we at? Oh, I'm still working through these things. Come back in a month. Month goes back. Knock, knock, knock. All right, we'll talk about it. Give me a few weeks. We'll talk then. So in this process, in those few weeks, one day, what ended up happening is my boss at the time of account management was starting to get frustrated of me making sales calls instead of doing the account management duties, because I would make sales calls all day. It was affecting the people around me. So what I would do is I would take my cell and go into the bathroom, and I would start making sales calls in the bathroom.
This is one of these kind of far-flung parts of the building, right, where you could kind of
it was like a
sneak
separate,
away.
It was a
cloak and
separate
dagger.
Exactly. It was a separate bathroom that only 2 offices even had access to. Right, so it was off to the side.
Yeah.
No one usually goes in there. I feel completely comfortable doing it in there. No one's
like
there.
your little office.
Right, and meanwhile, the job that I had was all women, so
Yeah.
I was in the men's room. I'm like,
Sure.
there's no chance that anybody
Is getting even.
they'll never know I'm in the men's room, right?
Yeah.
So I make sales calls in the bathroom, go knock on Sean's office. He goes, "Hey, I heard you, like not to be gross, but like I heard you in the bathroom the other day." I'm like, if someone is doing that, with that passion,
They
with
really
that
want
level, they really want to do this. So I'll
Yeah.
give you a chance. So that he still tells the story to this day. So it's not
That's a really good story.
Yeah. So eventually they hired me. First year I blow out everybody, right?
Yeah.
First year and I was selling to garages, retail restaurants. It was a certain workers' comp group product that we had that was it's a really good. We still have it, but it's a really good program for new sales reps because you're selling small business, so there's a lot of it. So
Yeah.
you can get your activity up and that sort of thing. So I did really well with the garage. That was my niche, was just garages. So I picked out of those, the people that fit the workers' comp group were, say, retail, restaurant, work, and garages. I just picked all garages. I said, why try to do all three of these things when you can just be a specialist in one?
Right.
You'll have more success. In my mind, I was like, if I just know everything about garages, when I walk into a garage, there's no chance they're not going to do business with me because all I do is service them.
Right. You've
I
got all
talk
the
to your
bases
peers.
covered.
Yeah, and it's not even just the insurance part, like business consultant. Not at that time in my career, but
Right.
that's long term. That's where it ends up going.
I mean, unofficially, you were kind of almost as you accumulated clients, you became a business consultant because you would understand what problems garages saw and things of that nature.
exactly,
right?
and that's
Yeah.
why that micro niching is so important in insurance, because if the business owner can not only buy insurance from you at a commission, and they can get insight on what's going to better off their business from all of the communication that you have with all your different clients, it's going to make a very sticky relationship,
For sure.
and they're going to gravitate towards you forever. Like,
Well, yeah, and they buy in not just to the insurance, but obviously to the business expertise and the industry knowledge,
absolutely.
which is huge. Now, real quick, so when you say, just going back to your initial kind of role as a salesperson in the account management role, so what you're saying is one customer or client had one line of insurance, and so what you would do is you would say, hey, but you do also qualify for this, so let me sell you this or pitch this policy. Is that accurate?
Very accurate.
Okay.
Yep. Like
All
they
right.
would have just the workers' comp, but they didn't have the property and liability, or they have an auto policy, but it wasn't with us.
Yeah. Well, and that's an excellent insight or maybe an intuition on your part, which is to zoom out a little bit and think about, okay, well, where else could we help this person?
Right.
So that's huge. Okay, so you started getting into garages, and then from there,
Yes. So started getting into garages, had a lot of success right off the bat. I mean, but the issue was I would have to sell 20, 30, 40, 50 garage policies a year to hit the numbers where I wanted to be. And at that time, I aimed low. I just wanted to hit $100,000 in revenue, which is $1 million in premium. Still great,
Yeah.
great. It's just not where I want it to be, but it's still great. And I just knew if I stayed with only doing garages, I would never get to Sharp. Sharp is 230 in revenue. Now it's 250. Back then it was 230. 250 in revenue, so $2.5 million in premium on average.
right?
Right. So selling garage, I would never ever get there, and I knew that. I ran into a trucking account in 2016, and it was a husband and his wife and 3 trucks. That account, when I ended up writing it, paid more than my largest garage policy
Wow.
in revenue. So when I realized, I said, this is the opportunity for me to get where I want to be, which is a Sharp level producer. The guys that I looked up to my whole career, the guy that drove the Mercedes back in, when I was 16, that is
Right.
what they do. They're upstream, they go upstream. They hunt bigger, they write less accounts, but more expertise, more value, more consultant. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a
Right.
consultant. I didn't want to just be wheeling and dealing insurance policies, personal lines, or that's not how I seen myself. I see myself as a consultant that should get, that should bring value to each and every client. So when I
Beyond
wrote
insurance, yeah.
exactly, so when I wrote that policy, same guy, the CSO, he said, "All right, so this is the right move for you to go into trucking. The clients are very similar, personalities are very similar." Because that's another part of this, is the psychology part of it, right? Who people work with the best, who you relate to the best. That's the other part of it. Do I think I would do well selling to lawyers and attorneys? Probably not. Do I think I would do well selling to medical facilities? Probably not. Entertainment people? No. Artistic? No. That's not where I would do well selling to. So the psychology part of it is that you work with someone that's like you, that understands your jokes, understands your humor, understands the way you talk, understands the way you present yourself, and you connect on that level. Then you also bring that specialty and that knowledge. That's where you can really expand on your career, because you're working with people that are similar, like kind and quality, right? So knowing that those two industries are very similar, of the people, blue collar guys that made it, created their own business,
all the rest of it.
It was very similar. So I said, this is the perfect route. So they connected me with our transportation division in Vermont. Two guys come in to Wilmington to meet with me, and we sit down, we talk about how I can explore my interest in trucking. They set me up with a designation program through the Motor Carrier Insurance Education Foundation in Florida. I go to that course for 2 weeks. I get my designation, TRS. I learned so much from them that once I got the actual education and the specialty, I then just exploded. Ever since then, 2017, 2018, I made Sharp for the first time. 2019, I missed it by 20 grand. And then 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, 4 years in a row, I made Sharp since then.
That's great.
So knowing that, I have that education that I got, that specialty education that I got, in absorbing it, understanding the material, and being able to explain to clients on, what your FMCSA score looks like, your CSA scores look like, what is a good MBR, what's a bad MBR, how to position a client on accepting, taking drivers, what are your guidelines, what's your safety programs, what's your safety incentives. What I'm getting to is, not only am I selling the insurance policy to the client, but I'm trying to explain to the client what it takes to actually save money is your underwriting exposures, your underwriting data, your risk management. Shopping the policy to multiple carriers is only going to save you plus or minus 5%, because all the data is the same. All the insurance carriers have the same structure on rating. They use loss ratios, they use the CSA scores, MVRs, and claims. So they take those factors, and that's what brings your price up. So I realized quickly that every time I market an account, all these insurance carriers are very similar in pricing.
Like they're drawing from the same pool of information, so their pricing is going to be the same because losses are what they are.
Exactly.
So you had to find a different way to
help
add value.
Yep. I find a different way to help the client. How can I save you money? Well, it starts with us focusing. And when I say us, I'm going to meet with you on a quarterly basis. We're going to pull your CSA scores from that quarter. We're going to pull your drivers that you hired in that quarter. We're going to look at your open claims in that quarter. We're going to have conversations on that. We're going to identify trends. Do you have a seatbelt issue? Whereas people not wearing your seatbelt? Then we'll give a risk management mitigation for that. Let's get orange seatbelt safety reflectors on your seatbelts. It's just an example. Or speeding. Bring in J.J. Keller. Bring in certain philosophies to help them mitigate that risk.
Right.
So then next year, they're a better risk. They're more attractive in the marketplace. That's how savings are achieved.
Yeah.
It is not achieved by you calling 5 different insurance brokers and them shopping to the same markets, because it will be the same results every single year. And isn't that the definition of insanity, when you do the same thing over and over again to achieve the same results?
Well, and that's when it comes down to the people that you have in your organization, because you need somebody who thinks about, let's factor in, or let's see what goes into the price, and let's maybe try to work on some of those things. So because if you take less risky behaviors, then you will be a less risky company to insure, and that means that your premiums are going to go down. Correct. Or that's the vision anyway in having that conversation. Is that right?
Yeah, and you're showing a trend too, right? So yes, we were trending with unsafe data, and always, this is the part that always gets misconstrued, is that the reason we focus on safety is because there is a direct correlation between claims and losses and the amount paid in those claims to what the risk factors are. So there is a true correlation between the two. So it's always, if we improve these 3 things, we'll improve the losses. They follow. The claims will follow. And that's truly what the underwriters care about, but they look at these to judge what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
So when you start to show trends that's improving in the right direction, even though those losses are still hanging on to them, meaning like if you're showing a picture of the last 4 years of losses, but the last 2 years they're trending in the right direction on those safety categories, we can then get an insurance carrier to take a gamble on you.
Right.
Yeah, their loss pick still says you should insure them at X, but based on these last 2 years of progression and that your company has buy-in on safety, maybe we will give you a 20% discount and gamble on that. So win the account because we see the trajectory.
Right.
So that my job is to present all of that to the insurance carriers.
Right.
Set you up, help you. It's your job to actually implement safety policies, but it's my job to then illustrate that to the marketplace.
So you're advocating for the
Motor carrier.
Yeah, for the motor carrier or the shop, and you're going to insurance companies and saying, look, we're working on them to be more safe and be a more surefire insurance.
More profitable. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All of that. So yeah, that's really good. Now, from that point, is there anything else? Is there anything else to catch up on to right now in terms of, or are you you're basically still working with trucking companies, and you are
My story, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're looking to make Sharp again, or
right. So I did make Sharp for this year. I just finally, made
Congratulations.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So I did make Sharp again this year. The other transition is when I moved here, right?
Right.
I think that's a big piece of why I'm here talking to you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So after COVID, everybody kind of had a come-to moment, right? Like, let's figure out our lives. What are we doing?
Exactly.
So my wife and I just had a daughter, 2-year-old. She was, newborn at the time.
Right.
So we have a newborn. We look around and we go, okay, it's just my mother here in Wilmington and my stepfather. No other family. Her family all lives here in Western Mass. We have a house in North Andover. It's probably 1,500 square feet on top of all these other homes. My wife's a nurse. I'm an insurance broker that works for Hub. Hub also has an office in East Longmeadow. The president of that office, Tim Marini, great guy. I would see him at all the events. We would talk because my wife's from his neighborhood. So we would talk and just say, hey, when are you moving out to Western Mass? It was a joke at first. After COVID happened, we kind of looked around and went, you know what? Every time there's a holiday, I'm traveling to go see her family.
Right.
I truly believe that the holidays are the only time I actually have off. Even when I go on vacation, I don't have the day off. I'm answering my phone. I'm answering emails. I'm engaged with my clients every day of the week. Every holiday, every vacation, everything. The only time I stop and I actually get a true break is during holidays. And then what was happening is I would have to travel 2 hours and 2 hours back. So there was no break. It was always just travel, holiday,
go.
clients, go. And I'm like, that really doesn't make sense. My friends are all scattered all over the place anyways at this point. We're all young families, working towards a common goal, and that's family, right?
Right.
So it was very difficult to keep that connection going.
Yeah.
Right. Justifying staying where I am.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. So we looked at houses in East Longmeadow and different towns, but eventually I picked East Longmeadow. Was able to get new construction, big yard, the whole thing for the same price that I was paying back in North Andover.
Right. Probably for rental rates in North Andover.
Everything.
You could pay a mortgage and a half.
Exactly. So at that point, I went, all right, I can easily transition. And also, granted, I have clients in New Jersey, clients in Delaware, New York, and I do have Eastern Mass clients as well. So with moving here, it's like, okay, maybe 5 times a year I have to travel an hour and a half back to Eastern Mass. But now instead of traveling 5 hours to go see a New Jersey client, it's only a 3-hour drive. So it actually, the centralized location for the New England area is perfect in Western Mass.
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. The only thing we're missing is a train, right?
Right.
Like that goes to Boston. I think that's the only thing we're missing here.
Yeah, I don't know if the Amtrak does that, but it could definitely be stand to be built out for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of, my wife's a nurse, so we just, that solidified everything. We're like, we're moving, and it was the best decision I've ever made. It really was. Everything has been here for a year and a half now, and it's been excellent. People are great, it's a good place to live.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Okay, so if you were zooming out slightly, if you were to leave one piece of advice for somebody let's just say for the younger you or for somebody who was looking to get into insurance, what's one piece of industry advice that you would leave them if you could only leave one piece of advice? And then maybe what's one, just reflecting on life and the courses you've been through, what's one piece of life advice that you would leave to somebody?
Industry advice, and I guess it kind of goes with life advice, though. It's more just find something that you're passionate about. Find an industry that you're connected to, whether that's through your family, your natural market that you have, your friends, your family, an industry that you're connected to, and be passionate about it. With those two things, the rest will come because you're hungry. I guess, and I think I told you this earlier,
Right.
but the other thing is the anxiety, right?
Right. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
I think having that mentality that life's not sweet and things won't always be here if you're not continuously working towards it,
Yeah.
continuously growing your book of business. I don't worry as much about renewals because I always just focus on new business. And that, to me, is what keeps me moving forward. So, and what I mean by that is, of course, I work on all my renewals just as hard as I do with new business, but I don't worry about them leaving because I'm always putting on new accounts. And when they don't leave, that's growth.
Right.
So that anxiety that I have about going back to my poor days is what always continuously makes me grow.
Yeah. I think that's probably a lesson for America in the sense that progress is not inevitable. Like we have all of these fancy things and we live pretty comfortably, probably as comfortable as humans have ever gotten. We're in that time right now. But I think there's a little bit of taking that for granted, which is to say that if you don't stay on top of things, things will fall apart. I mean, in every apocalyptic movie you've ever seen, once people stop functioning, everything gets
complacency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything gets overgrown,
yeah.
and everything goes to snuff. So I think that having that hunger and having that a healthy amount of insecurity about securing your future, I think, is absolutely necessary.
Totally agree.
Now, outside of insurance, can you talk to us a little bit about sales? Because it's something that I think you mentioned that it's something that you always kind of had a desire for. Maybe it was the Mercedes and the BMWs in the parking lot, but it's probably something else as well. So talk to us about what do you think makes a good salesperson, or as you mentioned, like we call them from my Mass Mutual days, we call them producers. And that's kind of a very fitting thing because sales make the world go round, and you have to produce in order to keep anything afloat. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm fixated on what you said about the Mercedes and it was never the money, though. Here's what I mean by that is I always equated all of my family problems to money because when you don't have money, a lot of the fights in the house, a lot of the arguments, a lot of the problems, it's always money because money's always number one. You think that the money will cure all the problems. So knowing that, you think, okay, if I can get money, I won't have all these problems, and that's simply not true. So that was a flawed, when I was younger, that was a flawed vision of mine. I didn't want the Mercedes because I wanted money. I wanted a normal family life. I came from divorced parents, a lot of fighting, a lot of issues. So
unrest, yeah.
So when I said about the Mercedes, that's who I wanted to be. I just always thought that money created the chaos in my family because that's what was talked about the most.
Right.
So I wanted to get that clear. It's not. But moving from that, answering your question, is it's not the money that drives me. It's the success. It's the willingness of people seeing value in me and saying yes and telling me that I'm their guy, that they trust me. They appreciate my advice. That is really what drives me, is really helping people do a better job with their business, but adding value to one component of a multitude amount of things that this business owner has to do. The one thing he doesn't have to worry about now is proper insurance and risk management and advice. So being that risk management wing to a company owner is what drives me, which makes me happy. That's my favorite part of the job, is filling in that void that takes one thing off their plate.
Right, and so now you obviously specialize in insurance, but that sounds like it would work, that kind of mentality would work for anybody who's in sales, regardless of what industry they're in.
Right.
The
So,
desire to,
so again, if there's 15 problems a business owner has with vendors, and I'm the insurance guy in risk management, he has those exact same problems with 401k. He has those exact same problems with payroll, right? He has those exact same problems with his life insurance. He has those exact same problems, right? So over and over again. It doesn't have to be insurance, but you're bringing that exact same security by being the best at what you do for that one vendor. It takes a little bit of pressure off the business owner, that maybe if you're that guy and you're that advisor, he doesn't have to focus on that space as much, which then gives him time, frees him time to do what he's doing best, whether that's the cookies that he makes or the transportation that he does or the flights that he gets, whatever the business is. The goal is to take away one of those components that he hates doing, so he can do what he loves doing.
Right.
That's
huge.
That's where that's the beauty of it, is that I love doing my job. I don't like doing administrative paperwork. So if someone could take that from me, it makes me happy. So I look at that for the business owner. Someone could take the insurance and make him feel comfortable about the insurance and got his back on risk management. He can continue worrying about the cookies he sells.
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
Yeah, and the illustration that we've used that I've heard used in the military is like it's taking rocks out of somebody's pack. So you can imagine wearing one of those big military style backpacks, and you load it down with rocks. Obviously, that's going to be a tough haul. But if you come along and you take a boulder out of there, now all of a sudden
lighten the pack.
It's a huge burden off of somebody's back, and they can keep doing what they're trying to do in the world.
Exactly.
Okay, and so sticking a little bit with the industry, but let's just say I'm coming out of high school, haven't really committed to a career or an industry. What would you say to recruit me to your line of work?
So it would depend on the personality. I think the personality tests that are out there nowadays does a really good job at least understanding the person, so you can decide whether he's going to be successful in sales. I think it's a great starting point. Is the Myers-Briggs or whatever the personality test is. There is to me, I believe in those. I think some people are made to be salespeople and some aren't. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Anybody can be a salesperson. I'm talking about the very, very successful ones.
Yeah, people who are good at it. Let's just say, for lack of a better,
like the top earners, right?
Yeah.
I think with top earners, it all comes down to personality and perseverance and resilience. Like with that hunger. Like if you don't have that drive, and what I mean, you could have drive about certain things, but I mean, if you don't have that drive to continuously get rejected, that's the number one key right there. If you don't have the drive to continuously get rejected,
you can't take it,
if you can't take that, it's not a good profession for you.
Right.
Can you make a few dollars doing it and live a comfortable life? Absolutely. But would you be a top performer? Probably not.
Right.
So I really think that piece of it is the most important piece.
We've talked to a couple of guys who, like I've talked to a couple of loan officers and from the mortgage side of things, and kind of the phrase that we use is you kill what you eat what you kill, which is to say, and that's a scary prospect for people, because you gotta, there's a lot of insecurity and a lot of game planning that goes into that, but the rewards are there if you have the perseverance, the patience, the determination to do all of those hard things before you secure that, that first sale or whatever, and to keep doing that is definitely is not for everybody. So it takes a very specific kind of person to do that. And
I don't want to say it's drive either, because you could have drive about something else. Maybe your drive is not for sales,
right?
So it isn't really drive. It comes down to that the fear of rejection. It's like the number in sales.
You have to be able to be
rejected.
Up. Yeah,
and not be offended by it.
Yeah,
not take it personal and just move on.
I mean, that's so true, because everybody's looking out for their own interests, and when those don't align with yours, and people communicate that in one way or the other. It is kind of because you try not to take it personally, but I think probably most people do take it personally, and so the ability to segregate the personal from the professional and keep moving forward, I think is probably what
I take it personal too. But
Okay.
so when I take it personal though, usually what happens is that I take it so personal that then I'm tweaking what that like I care so much about what people think about me
Okay.
that I'll tweak my personality to fit who they are. Chameleon,
Okay.
right? In certain situations, especially when it comes to sales. Maybe not
Sure.
my everyday life because I want to
Yeah,
be
of
who
course,
I am.
yeah.
But in sales, no, I'm going to tweak the way I reacted, or I'm going to tweak what they didn't like and fix that so the next time I talk to them, I'm more in line with their behaviors.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say don't take it personal. Absolutely do.
Okay.
But then tweak what you're doing on that certain characterization of that person. Meaning, I put people into boxes. Like, is that, are they a Rolex steak guy, or are they an Apple Watch hiker,
Right.
or are they a Democrat? Are they a Republican? And then I can go in and be that person with them. And the reason, and I'm not saying I change who I am. I don't
Right.
change my values. It's just my values and my morals connect with everybody. Because I truly do feel like humans have things in common with every single person.
Yeah.
And you find that commonality, and then you explore that together with somebody.
Well,
so
I
I
think-
can hang
yeah.
out with these different groups of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
for days and have no problem with it, because there's a part of me that's interested in something that the hiking guy does. There's interest in something that the boat guy does. Like,
Right.
so I just pick that interest, and I live and die into that interest with them.
Well,
That's
and-
like the truth. I mean, I'm getting really deep with it. Like,
Sure.
that is the truth, though.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve a problem for them.
Yes.
So at the core of what you're doing, that doesn't change. So whether it's somebody who
It's
runs
the delivery that changes.
exactly, yeah, it's
100%.
yeah. So it's the top layer. You might paint it differently, but you're only doing that so that you can get past the semantics and
Yeah.
get to the core.
You
of
said
what-
it 100.
yeah.
Yes, you
Yeah,
said
what
it
they're saying,
100%. Because again,
Yeah.
what we're actually doing is we're advising and we're consulting, and your business is the same as the other person, even though your personality is different.
Yeah.
Your business is going to be the same. So you're right. We just want that. What I was talking about on the personality side is because a lot of people reject people based on their beliefs and their values and how they perceive somebody.
Right.
So getting connected to that person off the bat, whether it's a one commonality or two or three or four, doesn't matter. We just want them to feel comfortable enough to trust us and listen to us.
Yes.
But that doesn't change. Yeah, what we're doing, our profession never changes.
Right.
Our value never changes. But you're right. That's
You're
a
trying to
good
find-
way.
yeah.
It's an
You're
excellent
trying-
way to put it.
You're trying to find common interests so that we focus on, hey, what do we have? What can we?
Get over the things that
Where can we
that-
be allies?
Get
Right,
over the
right,
things that you might have perceived about me.
Mm-hmm.
Take that. Once you take that out of the equation, it gets the business.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
you're
and
absolutely right.
That's an excellent way to deal with people in general, and certainly the same thing that I try to do. Now, in insurance, obviously, we're talking about very big numbers. You're dealing with risk, and so a lot of scary stuff that happens. Can you tell us about a time when something either didn't go right and how you recovered it, whether that's a sale or a claim or whatever, or maybe some learnings about something that didn't end how you would have liked it to? And you don't have to name names or anything like that, just maybe a broad, I want to call them details, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
So a situation that could have went better.
Yeah, a situation that where initially you came in, maybe it was somebody who was initially hostile, and how you ended up getting their business.
Yeah.
Or maybe if it was something that where there was some miscommunication and they were angry at you, and either how you won them back or what you learned from it to apply it for next time.
Yeah, I'll just tell an early one. So, garage client walked in, angry about pricing. Lebanese guy, so very direct. Sits down. We start talking about the insurance. He gets angry about a price. He looks at me as a used car salesman. He was a used car salesman, so looks at me as a salesman.
Right.
And he just goes, starts yelling at me. And I just went. I looked at him in the eyes and said, Sir, I just, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'm never going to be disrespected in my life. I'm going to close this file and I'm walking out the door. Close the file, walk. No, 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 come back. Ever since that day, he calls me his brother. I'm a true advisor to him. I don't even get paid on his account anymore, and he knows it. I sold the account back to Hub a long time ago. But he still calls me for my advice on how to consult for his business to this day, and it's been 12 years. But yeah, so that goes to tell you that when someone's being aggressive and bullying you, and you show that you're not going to put up with it, and you do it in a very polite way, but also stern, they respect and appreciate it so much that they just got put in their place. They then turn around and they look up to you.
Right.
And it was like the most beautiful moment when that happens, because I'm never going to be disrespected in my career.
Yeah, you don't want to be a yes man. You don't want to be walked over, because if people don't feel any sort of resistance from you, it's kind of like giving away something for free, which is like, if you there's certainly the aspect of adding value and putting value in people's lives, but there's also this whole conversation pricing is how much do you give away for free? Because when you give something away for free, people don't value
you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that
good things cost money.
Exactly.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Okay, so what is can you remember a light bulb moment that went off in your head? I mean, you've kind of already described one back in your college days, but in your professional life, can you remember a light bulb moment where you substantially changed the way that you do business?
I think it would have happened gradually, but yeah, I mean, everything I just spoke about was the light bulb, meaning I used to sell insurance the way everybody else did, and that was, hey, what is the underwriting data? Let me take all that underwriting data and then go to market, and I'll sell you the best price.
Right.
But I took that, now I went, okay, what are the underwriters looking for? Why is the prices changing? Well, here's the difference. So now when I meet a client, it's not about marketing the account with the data they have. It's about being a challenger and saying, you as the owner, you can change these things. You want to save money, you have to do it with my help. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on these 3 areas, 4 areas, 5 areas. And we're going to meet on a quarterly basis. I'm going to hold you accountable for focusing on those 3 areas. So you're going to save yourself money with my assistance. And ever since I started selling like that, that's when that was the light bulb moment, because I changed from an insurance salesman to a trucking insurance business consultant.
Right. Yeah, that
professional advisor. And I always heard those terms earlier in my career, and I thought it was a joke. I was like, that's stupid. It's a
that's
title.
A fancy word.
It's a fancy title for what we do. That's not real. But when you become a specialist in an industry, I know more about the trucking companies than they do in certain situations, because I talk to 50 of them.
Right.
They only know what they know, what their dad taught them or their mom taught them, or what they learned at their old boss's place.
Right.
That's what they know. They're in a box. Yes, some of them go out and they talk to each other and they start to learn new ideas and stuff like that. But to have my opinion and sharing my data that I learned from these other 5 carriers around them, they go, oh, that's a great idea. Same thing. I take ideas from you that I give to him.
Right.
We're all sharing that data through me. Because of that, I'm out in the world and I'm out in the space every single day.
Well, and for them, it would be hard to, even the most ambitious shop owners, it would be hard for them to spend some part of their day going out and talking to other
competitors.
But you are naturally
and showing a weakness too to the competitors.
Exactly.
They're going, hey, I don't know how to do this. The competitor, how much can you trust your competitor?
Sure.
You don't want to share those trade secrets with them. So in reality, coming through me, you don't have to pay for my consultant advice. I get paid a commission. The reason I do the extra stuff is because I want to keep you for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I want you to refer me to your friends and family. So also on that same topic, I also went back to the same education foundation that taught me, and I became a fellow teacher there. So now I speak at their annual conference. I go to the classes and teach the material that was taught to me in 2017, 2016. Yeah. I teach that material to new people now. And because I'm doing that, I'm also continuously educating myself by questions that are getting asked.
Right.
And keeping me on my toes. And everything that changes in the industry, I'm involved in now. I'm on the committee of the Insurance Education Foundation for transportation specialists. I'm on the committee, so all of that information that's new and debated, I'm part of it. So
yeah, you're on the kind of the cutting edge.
100%.
And I know that you like to stay there, not just with the trucking and the transportation stuff, but also technology and all of that. Like I think you're a pretty big believer in continuous self-improvement, which is a little bit of a buzzword, but continuous self-improvement and trying to look at where the industry is going and staying kind of at that cutting edge so that you don't get left behind.
And what you're talking about is me going ahead and getting my MBA. So I realized that where transportation insurance and auto insurance in general is going is in the insurtech space, where it's real time. What routes are you going? How fast are you going? How many harsh breaks did you have today? Mm-hmm. They're going to start charging you based on that real time data. Mm-hmm. And at 35 years old, I don't want the 20-year-olds that come into the industry know that better than me. Mm-hmm. So I decided to get my MBA at University of Hartford that teaches 3 courses on this stuff to get a designation in insurance consultant, insurance and risk management concentration for my MBA. So I'm continuously right now, start again in spring. I finished a year so far, got 1 year left to go, start again in spring. To get my MBA, I'm taking those 9 elective classes just to get to those 3 core classes and spending $25,000 to invest in myself. There's no direct, you got your MBA, here's a bonus. There's none of that.
Right.
It is purely investing in the education.
So stay at the top of your game.
I would always say to someone, check your entertainment bill, right? See what you spent on movies, dinners, drinks in the last year. See if you can cut out half of that and then go and take a designation. Use that money to then get your MBA. Yeah, use that money to then reinvest in yourself and say, I'm going to do half the amount of entertainment that I do and spend that money on investing in myself. Strongly encouraged to do that.
That's a really good reflection. I mean, just for even if you're at the top of your game, just a really good question to ask yourself to see, okay, where are my priorities? You know, because it's like where your money is, there your heart is also. It's kind of a saying. But okay, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with in terms of philosophies or ideas or anecdotes or anything of that nature?
I just hope that everybody understands. A question got asked to me. Got a new hire the other day, and one of his first questions was, "What's the work-life balance?" And that question to me made me inside a little upset, very upset. But I didn't come off. I didn't react to it. But if you're going to be a salesperson or a professional, a successful person, the first 23-year-old kid, the first 5 to 10 years of your life, this should be no life. It should be all work. In my opinion, if you want to be the best at it, sacrifice your life, because I'll tell you right now, I'm going to have a much better life in my back 9 than I did in my first 9. Right. Because of all the work that I sacrificed for.
Yeah, that's a very good
I chose
good
work
insight,
for 10 years. I did that. Like I told you, I was doing 8 to 5, 6 to 9, from 20 years old to 25 years old. I did that.
Yeah, and everything else is on the chopping block.
Right. And now I have a great life, right? Like I created a great life for myself. Nothing was given. So don't ask the work-life balance question. I think the way it's going right now with, no, we should do more in our life and experiences. You can earn those experiences. They're not automatically assumed. You have to earn those experiences.
Nobody owes you that. Yeah.
No one, and that's what that is what's been from a life perspective right now. I just want to get that message across that, you should have experiences, and it shouldn't, in life experiences, and not all be work. But you'll appreciate them a lot more when you earn them, and they're not guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a very good insight, and I think that's a really good place to end. So, now where can people find you? What?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good place.
You notice how I didn't say Instagram? Because I don't have one.
Right.
Yeah. LinkedIn, Jonathan Maimaron.
And we'll leave your information in the description. But if you want to talk insurance, if you're looking for insurance,
feel free to reach out if you just want business advice or life advice. I mean, I'm okay with that as well.
Great.
Anybody that shows initiative is welcome to pick my brain.
That's a really good. I'll leave it with this: is initiative is like the big I in life. If you can be a little bit forward thinking and risk some things, that there's Not always, but you only need to be right once for there to be a huge payoff. So initiative is such an important thing to act on your own without direction. Obviously assuming that everything's within the bounds of the law and whatever else. But
Correct.
right. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Jon, thanks so much for being here. This is a great episode, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care.